From Mamamia, welcome to The Spill, your daily pop culture fix. I'm Laura Brodnick.
And I'm Ksenia Lukic.
And coming up on the show today, thank God I'm back and off my deathbed because, as I missed a few shows last week, because there's been a lot of gossip and intrigue over the weekend from the celebrity world. We're going to be talking about two famous movie stars and TV stars who had a bit of a fake feud that didn't land the way they wanted. Plus, a Spice Girl got married and there was a lot of drama around that.
Yes, but first, we are going to give you a little bit of an update on Orlando Bloom and Katy Perry. They have officially confirmed their split. Now, there's been a lot of speculation around this for months. Basically since kind of April, they've kind of started speculating. But now a representative for the two has come out and actually confirmed the split. So this statement reads, Orlando and Katy have been shifting their relationship over the past many months to focus on co-parenting. They will continue to be seen together as a family as their shared priority is and always will be raising their daughter with love, stability, and mutual respect. So this statement kind of reminds me a lot of the very, very famous Gwyneth Paltrow, Chris Martin conscious uncoupling back in 2014. That was like 11 years ago now.
Yeah, and we're still talking about it. And Gwyneth still gets asked about it all the time. And she's always really big on saying, like, they didn't come up with it. It was like a relationship professional author, like someone who I feel bad that she doesn't get her credit for this phrase that we all use. But they co-opted into their statement and it almost became a bigger story than the end of their relationship.
Yeah, it was just such a funny way to talk about, not funny, I don't know if that's the right term. It's just an interesting way to talk about a relationship breakdown. Because in any other circumstance, like every normal person doesn't have to release a statement about their relationship ending. You know, they just drop off the face of an Instagram, you know. It's a weird thing to have to do as a public figure. Is to release a statement about your relationship ending. So I understand that, and I think the whole, you know, the relationships end, it becomes a bit tired. So this one here, shifting their relationship the past many months to focus on co-parenting. So it's like they've broken up, but they're just shifting. It's an interesting turn of phrase, I think.
It's very telling not using the word breakup because I guess like they don't want any kind of negative connotation around it, and shifting is it's interesting. It's a very gentle word. It sounds like they've been in this kind of loving place together and they've like shifted all of their love into a different area. And so I think they're trying to take the sting out of all the breakup press because there has been so much, like we've been talking about it for weeks, outlets have been reporting on it, and it was all very negative towards Katy Perry, which I find very unfair, that he had the last straw with her antics, that he had got the ick from her and all this. It was very hating on her.
Yeah, and look, I'm not a massive fan of Katy Perry's music.
I am.
I always
love Katy Perry music.
I was very confused by their relationship when they first got together like 10 years ago.
Oh, really?
Like I just didn't get it. Maybe because I was such an Orlando Bloom stan.
Well, that's true. But you just feel territorial. Oh, that's why you don't like her music. It's all coming full circle.
No, I
she's
swear.
Your competition.
But no, of course not. I mean, a little bit he's singled out. Anyway, sorry, we're not going to go down we are not going down the Orlando Bloom, me loving him rabbit hole because it's just going to end badly. I'm not a massive fan. I never really got it. But, you know, they've been together 10 years. They've got like a 4-year-old daughter. They seem to be really happy. And, you know, it is really sad when any relationship comes to an end. But you're right that the negative press has always been around Katy and particularly around her crying on stage. So she's just been in Australia. She's just left. She's been here for her Lifetimes tour. In Adelaide on June 30, she was recorded crying on stage, basically saying thank you for all supporting me.
Thank you for always being there for me, Australia. It means the world.
And people were like, oh, she's really upset about her breakup. Now, I've kind of gone down this rabbit hole of Katy Perry crying on stage.
Yeah.
And it seems to be this like running, I don't want to say joke, but it seems to be this running thing where, you know, with Russell Brand, oh, she's crying about Russell, but I think she might just be really into her music and be emotional because she's not just crying during breakups. There's lots of the times when she's performing when she sheds a tear. But I think like the physical exertion of doing a tour would make you quite emotional.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's the times where she gets the most press is after a breakup. And it was really emotional watching her at that final Australian concert be up on stage, because there's been, again, not just the breakup, but all the negative press we've talked about with, like, she released her new song, Woman's World, and that got absolutely slammed. She released the video clip and people were making fun of her. And then the space thing. But even before that, there's this idea that, like, people didn't want to see her concerts, which didn't turn out to be true because I think they sold quite well. And I think seeing like that moment where she's looking at the crowd and everyone's on their feet screaming her name and screaming her song lyrics, I can see how, like, after being in the industry for like decades, that would be such an emotional moment for you. But then also we know Orlando Bloom was in Australia before he jetted off to the crazy Bezos wedding. And was that their final conversation of, we're definitely ending this? And that's when we'll put the announcement out. Like, did they have to have one kind of face-to-face meeting, and that's where it all came from?
I mean, that's like speculate. There's been so much speculation around this relationship. We probably will hear more about it. But Katy Perry is still on this Lifetime's tour till December, where she finishes up in Abu Dhabi. So she is going to be on tour for a while, so I'm sure we can expect to see a few more clips of her.
I wish that they were filming, and maybe they are, but I wish they were filming a documentary like the last big time she was on tour. Do you remember, like, that whole documentary is why we have that crying scene?
It's why we have the Russell Brand
yes.
breakdown of their relationship. It's like she's timing her tours with the breakdowns of her relationship, which is really sad.
Yeah, I know that is hard. But I mean, that moment from her documentary is so iconic. If anyone hasn't seen the Katy documentary, it's well worth a watch for the whole thing. But there's that one moment where she's crying backstage. It's kind of it's kind of inferred that she's just got a text from Russell Brand announcing their divorce. She walks out to go on stage. She's rising up from under the stage to appear, and she's literally hunched over, sobbing uncontrollably. And then as the platform lifts her onto stage, she just stops crying and, like, becomes Katy Perry and performs. And everyone thought that she was performing off the back of her divorce, that she just got a text from this man that she'd been married to saying it's over, and she was heartbroken. And I always thought that too, and I always thought it was one of the most important moments in pop culture. I've since heard from many people over the years, like people who have worked with her, who have said in interviews, or people who were kind of around in that moment. It's never been proven, but that wasn't the actual moment that she got the divorce, that she was just really run down and tired and hungover, and that's why she was crying, which I hate. I want the other story. I want the divorce story.
I have so much respect for these people. Can you imagine, those days, and we kind of have it to a certain extent, where if you're feeling really tired or run down and you need to be up and perform, and we record this podcast, even though behind the scenes we really hate each other. Like, the
amount of times I've cried in this office, that's not even a joke. Like, you do cry, and you have cried and have to come and do the pod. It's harder now that we're doing video, but back in the day, the amount of pods I recorded with a red face because something had happened.
Oh, no,
but you just had to do it. We're all Katy Perry on the inside.
I know. Well, I'm just saying, it's really hard to perform when you're feeling low.
Yeah.
So I have so much respect for these performers, even though I'm not like a massive fan of her music and her vibe, because she stole my husband. I do appreciate that emotionally, physically, very demanding to do a show and a tour like this. Like, I was looking at the schedule. It is full on. I can't imagine how they do this. No wonder Justin Bieber had a breakdown.
Yeah, exactly. God, it's rough out there.
Anyway, so her tour finishes up in December. We'll keep you posted. I'm sure there's going to be so many articles over the next few months about who they're both dating. But yeah, we'll keep you posted.
So over the weekend, Spice Girl Melanie B, Scary Spice, Mel Brown, however you want to call her, she goes by many names, married Rory McPhee, who is a hairstylist specialising in curly hair, which I find really cute.
And her hair was curly for the wedding.
Oh, yeah. I wonder if he did her hair. I have not seen that anywhere, but that would be very cute.
I didn't see it, but she is wearing curly hair for her wedding.
Oh, a little nod to him.
I think is quite cute.
So the dress was beautiful, had the beautiful encrusted pearls and the high neck, and there's all these photos of them smiling and laughing and looking very, very happy. So we love a celebrity wedding, but this one came with a slight scandal, not around the couple, they seem very happy, but around the guest list, because anytime a Spice Girl is involved in anything, the instant, I know, you just like fell off your chair from exhaustion over this. The only thing anyone cares about is, where are the other Spice Girls? What are they saying? What are they doing? What are they wearing?
I'm sorry. I know that we wanted to do this story today, but I was like, really, guys?
Let your thoughts out.
Like I was just like, she's getting married. So what if they're not all there? She's 50 years old. The Spice Girls live in the 90s. That's like 30 years ago.
I know, but they do hang out together every so often, very rarely. But remember, I think it was like Victoria's 50th and they were all on the dance floor and David Beckham's filming them and they're singing a Spice Girls song. See, we have these little moments peppered through history and that's why people care.
I know, I get that. But like, we don't have to like dig deep into everything thinking it's a slight.
Yes.
Like, maybe it was a small wedding. Maybe she didn't want to have everyone there. Maybe they couldn't make it. I don't know. Maybe I'm underthinking it, but I know that you're really excited about it and you want to talk about it. So I'm going to come along for the ride with you.
Okay.
Laura Brodnick.
Excited's a strong word, but I just want to unpack the headlines and bring some truth
it.
to the situation. So one Spice Girl was there, Emma Bunton, aka Baby Spice, who was pictured walking out of the venue, smiling, laughing, looking very happy.
One thing that did make me really excited was she was wearing baby pink.
Yeah, that was really cute. She really still lives that Baby Spice lifestyle, and I love that for her. So she was walking out looking very happy. She is the only one who currently is like in the UK full time at the moment and living there, so it's probably an easier commute from her to get to the wedding. So Victoria Beckham wasn't there, and the reasoning for that, everyone said, was that she's currently overseas. Obviously, she does live in America, and she wasn't able to get to the UK for the wedding. She put up a congratulations post saying she was devastated to miss it, but she loves them, did her signature little kisses at the end. Mel C, aka Sporty Spice, is on tour and playing in a music festival overseas. She wasn't able to be there. She put up also like, you know, a tribute and was commenting on the post and was all in it. So it seemed really lovely. And it's, again, one of those things where maybe it was a smaller wedding. Maybe it was, unlike Victoria's birthday, which might have been planned 10 years in advance. Maybe it was a bit spur of the moment. We don't know. But the drama comes from the fact that Jerry Halliwell, aka Ginger Spice, was not there, even though at the moment, I think she just split her time, but she is in the UK quite often.
Yeah, so there has been like there's a bit of lore behind Ginger and Mel B, which goes back to Mel B saying that Ginger and her like hooked up back when the Spice Girls first started, and then Ginger got really upset about that. And now there's like a weird rift between them. Yeah,
I mean, it's been bumpy over the years. They were the ones who always, if you read the Spice Girls unauthorized biography, which I got from the book fair in grade 5, and I think even though it's unauthorized, feels everything that's come out of it so far has been true, that they were the ones when the girl group was first put together who clashed the most and who had the kind of fire-ish relationship but was still close. And then when Jerry left the Spice Girls, that was the most shocking day of my life. I still remember.
Yeah, It was, even though I was a bit critical when we first started, I did really love the Spice Girls.
Yeah.
I remember making up dances. I was always Baby Spice. Like I'm a stan.
Yeah.
But yes, when Ginger left, it was just such a...
Yeah, and Mel B was apparently the one that took it the hardest, and there was a lot of rebuilding over the years. And yes, when she came out and said that they hooked up, she said Jerry's not going to like this, and apparently Jerry didn't. The interesting thing too is that since Jerry married her like very, very wealthy husband, she is very much transitioned into this like lady of the manor UK kind of persona. Like she only wears white and cream. She's always like done up really beautifully. She can sort of be seen like taking a stroll through London. She's a lady who lunches now. So she has, more than any of them, she has pushed her Spice Girl persona so far away. So I don't know, is there something there? I think it's more likely that she just couldn't make it.
Well, yeah, but I also think like, why would Mel B lie about something like that?
About them hooking up?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I don't think that's a lie at all. I think that...
But why was Ginger upset? Like,
I think she was just upset that they hadn't talked about it for decades and they'd always laughed it off as a joke. And then one day on a talk show, she just said it offhand.
Yeah, I think she said it to Piers Morgan.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
the worst person to say it to.
I know. God.
And I think also maybe Jerry wouldn't have... Again, I'm putting a lot of parasocial relationships onto these women, but that's where we are as millennial women. We grew up with them. I think maybe she would have cared less back in their like pop star days, but now that she has sort of pulled back from public life and is very much like, I'm a wife and a mother, and she's very much in that kind of posh UK set, that she would have hated all the... Because those were worldwide headlines for weeks over that. So, but they've been pictured together a lot since. So I actually don't think that their rift is from that. If there's a rift at all.
I know. Look, I think it's a bit of a... Like, sometimes I think it just becomes a bit of a reach. I understand why people are so fascinated. I love the Spice Girls. I get it. You know, Victoria Beckham is still up there with one of my all-time favorite interviews. Like, I adore her. You know, I'm really glad that Mel B seems very happy now, particularly considering her past relationship with Stephen Belafonte. But yes, she looks very happy. I absolutely loved Rory McPhee's Scottish tartan.
Oh, yes, he's wearing a kilt, which is very
wearing a kilt, which
cute.
I love a man in a kilt on their wedding.
I know. I feel like we're really like building this up, but it's just we want her to be so happy, especially because after the whole Stephen situation, her past breakup, she had a few other relationships that were very tumultuous. And then she had this like love affair with Eddie Murphy. As in, like,
and there was like the paternity thing with Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, and then once she found it, again, Eddie Murphy and Mel B tell different sides of this, but her side, which I kind of believe a little bit more, but her side is that they had this wild love affair. She got pregnant. He, it was like, I want nothing to do with you, and that child's not mine. And she really wanted him to claim their daughter, which fair enough. And so she ended up getting the courts to get him to undergo a paternity test. And the daughter, whose name I believe is Angel Iris, which is a great name, is his child, his 10th or 11th child.
Yeah, so he's got 10 kids. Like, this man does not like to wear a condom.
Yeah.
Like, he's...
Yeah, and then he's saying to this one girl, sorry, you're not mine. It's like, come on, guy, if you're going to sleep around,
mate,
look after the children.
Take responsibility for your stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And so many people are like, oh, Mel B is just trying to get Eddie Murphy's money. And I'm like, one, if he is the father of that child, then he is legally, he should be able to, he should provide for her, even if, like, obviously Mel B had her own money again by then. But it's more so that when you listen to Mel B, that's all I can refer to her as, Ms. Mel B, is that when you listen to her talk about this in interviews, she was just like, I just had to fight for my daughter to have her father recognize her publicly and to have his name on the birth certificate and be able to say, like, that's your dad, without it being this big. It's like when Liz Hurley was pregnant with her son Damien, and his father was like, no, it's something to do with me, and they had a paternity test, and she was like, I just wanted my son to be able to claim his father's name, especially because we're all in the public eye, and you can't help but people speculate.
It's very Maury Povich.
Yeah.
But anyway, I could go on forever. I could do a deep dive on men who have this, like, obsession with spreading their seed. Like, the amount of men who are just out there, like, with like a million children. Nick Cannon.
Yeah. Can't even remember all his kids' names. He got asked the other day and he blanked after like 5 or 6.
Honestly, I could do a massive deep dive on it. Look, there's got to be some psychological reason behind it. Maybe it's like a primitive, maybe it's like the lizard brain coming out, just wanting to just...
Spread it around.
Anyway, we're off topic again.
Anyway, beautiful wedding. Loved the curly hair. Loved the tartan. Hope that Ginger Spice posts something or says something so we can put this feud to rest, because people are still which I just don't think is ever going to happen. People are still holding out for a Spice Girls reunion.
It's not gonna happen.
I would settle for them just being all in the same room together and
Posh
hanging out.
cannot sing. Like,
I know, but she couldn't sing back in the day. That's fine.
I know, Victoria Beckham cannot sing.
No, like, Mel B is the best singer out of all. No, sorry, Mel C. Mel C. I was going to say Mel C. She got the highest score. Again, the unauthorized biography. She got the highest score in their first audition for singing and dancing.
No. She is by far the best singer.
Yeah.
You can listen to all of the, like, original stuff, and she is by far the best singer.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, I'm glad we solved that.
We're in agreement.
Okay, so the news is that Penn Badgley, aka Dan from Gossip Girl, and Meghann Fahy from The Bold Type and The White Lotus, and many other things, but she'll always be Sutton to me, are allegedly in a feud.
Oh my God.
I know.
What is this feud? Do they hate each other?
That is the reaction they wanted, but not the reaction they got. So this has been an evolving story over the last couple of days, and it started when Penn Badgley, who again is on the TV show You Netflix, he also has a podcast. He's very, he's very much like trying to keep the spirit alive there. Put up this video.
Hot city. Okay, so I don't usually do this, but my wife and I, we just finished Sirens. Okay, Sirens. Want to give her flowers. Now, obviously, there's Julianne, there's Kevin, there's Millie, but this Meghann Fahy, this newcomer, this like refreshing, gawky beauty, love it. Love you.
So that's the video he posted to his Instagram.
Yeah.
Which, well, initial thoughts? That's the first time you've seen it, yeah.
So I've watched this like quite a few times.
Oh, okay, yeah.
because I really...
You look so horrified. I was like, are you seeing it for the first time?
No, I've watched it like back to back quite a few times, and I'm trying to figure out what my reaction to it was. It feels fake.
Yeah.
He's acting in it. Like, on reflection.
He's acting poorly.
He's acting in it. Like, the way that he's like, I don't normally do this. And Hot City. Like, he's trying to make it seem really... And, like, I actually think he's a good actor. But on reflection now, he's very clearly performing.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was supposed to be just his reaction to, oh, he's discovered this new actor, Meghann Fahy. And then the comments are all like, oh my God, how can you not know? She has to be a guest on your podcast. We love her. Then Meghann Fahy comments saying something like, love you. Wait, her first response was
something like, oh, thanks so much. Tell Domino I said hi. So Domino is Penn's wife, Domino Kirk, who is also the sister of Jemima Kirk from Girls. So he's married into a very cool family. Too cool for him, I'm going to say, but they're very happy together.
So there was like this sort of back and forth repartee between the two of them.
She also said gawky though with like a little emoji, and then Penn was like, this is all happening in the comments section of the video he posted, and then Meghann was like, well, maybe we can chill on the body stuff, and then Penn came back and said, whoa, I've obviously been very supportive and complimentary, but this feels like a trap. And then she made a comment that he was acting like his character Joe Goldberg, the serial killer from You. And then she was like, there you go again with that trapping thing, because in the show he puts women in cages and then murders them, which is hilariously cute. And so this went back and forth for a while, and Meghann released her own video statement to this.
Penn Badgley's a 10 if you're looking for a Timu Pedro Pascal.
That is my favourite comeback ever. That is just like such a sick burn. The Timu Pedro Pascal is such a great little like quip. Then the people in the comments, like, it was quite because of where the first comment was, it was underneath. So it was like in the replies, and in between each reply is about a million other people jumping in. So it quite discombobulating.
Yeah, you have to go through, as we did in our prep, this is why we're journalists, and stitch all the comments together to kind of get their full feud.
Because there's in between people like, wait, what's going on? Is this like too far, Penn? Meghann, what is going on? Why is everyone so, like, people are so confused in the comments.
And people were angry at Penn mostly. And that's all the headlines I saw, because this got picked up very, very quickly.
Yeah.
And it started getting blasted across, like, people making TikTok reaction videos to it, people posting it all over their Insta stories. Then outlets started picking it up, and everyone was like, Penn Badgley's such a jerk. Like, how he, like, took an aim at Meghann Fahy, and we love her. And then she came back and said this. And this whole story bubbled up that they were having this very intense feud, which felt very weird at the time, but also when I was, again, because I was like weirdly in the weeds of this when it happened, I saw it quite early, and I was like, I guess they're having a feud. It felt so odd, but why else would they be having this weird back and forth? I didn't think they were having a feud. I more thought at the time that they were just having that he was putting that up to be kind of cutesy because he just finished watching her show, and then they were having a bit of a back and forth that was just meant to be fun because Meghann Fahy is like a little bit online in that way as well, and she likes to sort of have that like kind of quirky persona in public. I mean, she's lovely. We've had her on the pod many times before, but that seemed very much in her vibe.
Like a sarcastic kind of, like a bit of a, you know, you just giving each other a bit of a ribbing, like very kind of, but that's more like an Aussie or British thing.
Yeah.
It's not really a very American thing to like take digs at each other. Anyway, all of this to say that we found out that this is actually just one big fat publicity stunt.
Because then it came out a mere day or so later, so the feud didn't even have that much time to bubble over, that this was all a setup, because then photos came out of them filming their new cutesy rom-com movie together.
Yeah, so this new rom-com is called You Deserve Each Other. So it's an adaptation of Sarah Hogel's best-selling 2020 novel, which is basically your classic lovers to enemies to lovers story. You know, we've seen this it's a pretty common Hollywood trope.
Yeah.
But so they're filming this story, so they've obviously done this to drum up publicity of this show that they're filming.
The first photos came out, because they were filming out in the streets publicly, which means there's pat photos everywhere. And as soon as I saw it was a stunt for their new movie and for their filming, I was just like, I hate this. I hate it.
It really didn't land the way that I think they thought it would. Like,
Yeah.
I think it would have worked better if there wasn't so many comments in between, because it made it so confusing that it was just so all over the shop. And I think people were just really confused because it was out of character for Penn Badgley to behave that way. He's generally quite liked. Yeah. I don't know if you like him. I'm getting the sense but he, like, his podcast is super popular.
Yeah.
Like, You is one of the biggest shows on Netflix. Like, he's generally well liked.
Yeah. Oh, I don't have any personal beef with him. And look, I'm trying not to hold things that he said as like a very young actor to like where he is now, but he was always one of those actors, especially when he first got on Gossip Girl, being like, I'm better than this, like I'm a true actor, who even cares about Hollywood bullshit, everyone who watches Gossip Girl, I'm paraphrasing but only slightly, everyone who watches Gossip Girl is like a bit of an idiot, like, and he would go to protests and things, and which I understand, like he's got a very kind of like activist background to him, and he would go to things and then be like, well, if I'm going to be on like fucking Gossip Girl, I might as well do something with it, and is very much like over the years has been, I don't know, that kind of like, I'm just here to be an actor, like I'm not even about this fame life, then does the podcast and does stunts like this and does TikToks and is also really shamey of women who are like, love his character Joe in You, which I get, but also
okay, so I'm getting the sense that you think he's a bit pretentious.
Yes, 100% I think he's pretentious.
Okay, so I understand that, but it is weird that people that were watching You with like obsessed with him.
Oh no, I agree with that. Like I'm on the same.
Weird.
It's just I find every time I want to like him because, you know, I'm a big Gossip Girl fan. I just am. Like I know it's a basic
you feel
bitch
attacked.
show, but I love it. I feel personally attacked.
Yeah.
And yeah, like that's not a great show, but it is what it is. And you're not better than that, sir. Especially because now you spend all your time making TikToks and things to go with your podcast. If you were an actor, you wouldn't be doing that. And like again, just if you want to be a pretty boy Hollywood actor, be that. Don't shame us for it. Jesus Christ. Anyway, I'm coming into this with a bit of baggage.
I know. Okay, so I think that I'm just getting the sense here, Laura, that you're not the biggest Penn Badgley fan. But I guess my point is that despite your feelings about him that are potentially rooted in some deep-seated love of Gossip Girl, that you feel shamed by this pretentious actor. This is going back decades now. Despite that, generally his vibe has not been nasty. So I think this came so out of character. And also Meghann Fahy is...
Yeah, this is not the
funny
vibe for
woman.
her either.
Again, not really in character for her to be like...
Yeah, kind of like
confrontational.
Confrontational in the comments of an Instagram post. I just think that this just felt like it felt very desperate and tone deaf to me. Again, not that I care they had a fake fight. Like every movie has some sort of press thing around it like this. It just I just felt badly handled to me and felt really cheap. The thing is, if they hadn't done this prank, they would still be getting a lot of press for this movie. Also, they're only filming the movie. It's going to be at least 2 years to a year before it comes out. Like, this is the kind of stunt you do, like, leading up to the movie coming out, not the day before you start filming. And I also think that, like, if these people they've both been on huge shows, they have huge fandoms. If the photos had come out of them filming a beautiful little rom-com together, that would have been the story. We would have done a really cute little update on that on the pod. Instead, everyone's just like, oh, get out of here.
Okay, so the thing is about this movie is, I mean, I love a rom-com. I'm a massive rom-com fan.
Yeah, same.
I will watch basically anything. I don't care how cheesy it is. I don't care how tropey it is. I love it.
And the best trope of all time, in my professional and personal opinion, is enemies to lovers, which they are doing. So we didn't need this. It was already there.
It's classic. The director of the film is Mark Silverstein and Abby Cohn, and this is the team behind the romantic comedies of Never Been Kissed, and he's just not that into you.
Yeah.
Never Been Kissed.
No, this is a great duo. And I weirdly know so much about them because Mark Silverstein is Busy Phillips' ex-husband, and so I weirdly like know a lot about them through like her book and her podcast and her Instagram stories, and they have been building up. They also did I Feel Pretty with Amy Schumer, which got absolutely panned.
I actually didn't mind that movie.
I really liked it.
I didn't mind it.
I'm just going to say, I put it on the record. Amy Schumer DM'd me and like, thank you for being the only person to say it. And I'm like, Amy, I stand by it. We had a thing, but I think that this duo is like quite well known for making really great movies. This is what I mean. All the pieces of the puzzle were there. Why are we like muddying the waters with this weird little stunt?
Okay, so we actually didn't even explain what the movie's about. It's basically the two of them are getting married, but they hate each other, but they're just going ahead with it because it's really expensive to cancel a wedding.
Yeah.
Which spoken
We
about.
have spoken about recently.
We have discussed recently.
It's a real thing, guys. It happens to a lot of people.
It is a something that does happen. But it's a great. I love the premise.
Exactly.
It's fun. It's got all of the hallmarks of a successful rom-com. But yeah, it probably didn't need this. It's kind of given it a bit of a sour taste, particularly when the movie's quite far away from being released. But I think I'll still watch it.
Oh yeah, I'll watch the hell out of this movie. That's not my issue here. It just felt like a weird way to launch it. And I think there's like maybe a little bit of fatigue over these kind of stunts if they're not done the right way. I mean, obviously anyone but you kind of pulled it off because that movie made so much money that it wouldn't have if we didn't have the Glenn Powell, Sydney Sweeney situation. Even a little bit with A Star Is Born. I mean, that movie's been remade like 8 times already and it still felt a bit fresh in the press cycle when Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga did it because everyone thought they were together. And you kind of do need your 2 stars to have something going on in the press like lead up to a movie that gets people in, even like with like recently with The Materialist with Dakota Johnson, Pedro Pascal and Chris Evans. Obviously like one of them never talks about his relationship. One of them, Dakota Johnson, had just broken up allegedly with her long-term love. Chris is newly married. They couldn't have like a love triangle going on there, but they had like this kind of like fake buddy, but we're like calling out Pedro kind of thing going on. Like you've got to have that little kind of thing in the lead up to it to make people care.
I think as people who watch pop culture, it is so important to us to think that the people who are in these shows are friends. Like, for example, everyone in Friends is like, are you actually friends? Spice Girls. Like, we want to think that they have a relationship because we want to extend our disbelief of these characters that they've created and think that it can go beyond that, particularly when chemistry on screen is really strong. It's so hard to ignore that. For example, Angelina Jolie, Brad Pitt in Mr. and Mrs. Smith, you could see the chemistry so clearly on there and they were actually stooping behind the scenes. But it's so important to people to be able to see that chemistry off screen as well. I think that's why a lot of publicists lean into that so heavily.
So much now. It's so interesting because these kind of gimmicky press cycles used to be really frowned upon, and it was all about like the lead up of the trailer and like the big glossy magazine covers and the in-depth interviews sharing their trauma. And now what I really realized is like, because I'm in the middle of like bidding for some really big interviews for big movies that are coming out, and it used to be like no personal questions, which is still the case, no gimmicks, no games. It's just about the movie. It has to be really serious. And now all the things I'm getting about, do you want to interview this huge movie star? Can you send through like the 3 games you want to play with them?
Really?
The three, they just want to go really quirky. They want to go really fun.
It's because they want to go viral.
They want to go viral because they kind of feel like, because the way people view movies now, everyone's like, I'll wait for streaming. If they want to get people into the cinemas or even to watch on that first weekend of streaming, they want those really gimmicky press cycles, which is such a turn.
Do you know what I think the biggest, the reason for that shift is the way that we consume media is that so many people consume media through TikTok and they consume it through these like little clips. So when it's something like fun and interesting, they're going to get more press for it rather than the same basic 5 questions that we know, you and I both know what it's like when you go into a press junket. You've got 5 minutes. You need to create a story out of it. So you're going to have to ask your 5 basic questions that every single other journalist behind you has asked, because you need to get a story out there. Back when I was doing it, it was like I needed to get a coherent piece
you need
out
all
of
in one
video. So I had to ask those questions to be able to shape a story rather than doing like really random interesting questions that wouldn't create a package that I needed. But it's interesting that publicists have kind of flipped on that a little bit, because and it really wasn't that long ago when they were doing that.
It's been it feels like a recent shift, and that's why I feel like now movies, instead of doing the gimmicks in the press tour, now they're doing the gimmicks pre-filming, which this is kind of the first time we've seen it almost this early. Even like back when like Blake Lively was doing like the first rounds of like press for A Simple Favor, and just before the movie came out, she deleted her whole Instagram feed and only followed women who had the same name as her movie character. And even that felt like really bizarre because people were like, oh, it's too much or it's not pointing to the movie enough. But then it did work to get people to see the movie. So, but again, not pre-filming. But I think we're going to start seeing a lot more of this.
Yeah, look,
which is the thing. I'm exhausted.
It didn't quite land. And I think you and I are just both a little bit disappointed. But I'm still excited for the movie. But it's
again,
probably
would have
going to
been
be a
excited
while.
without the. Yeah, I'll be excited in a year and a half when this movie comes out. So yeah, we're still going to see it, but I just think everyone maybe pull back on the gimmicks this early in the press run,
I don't know where it's being released, but it does feel like a straight to Netflix rom-com.
which I love.
Mamamia Studios are styled with furniture from Fenton & Fenton. Visit fentonandfenton.com.au. This film is produced by Manisha Iswaran with sound production by Scott Stronach. We'll see you back here in your podcast feed at 3 p.m. tomorrow. Bye.